What is up, guys? Do we have a show for you? We're not talking sports. Oh no. We're talking TV shows and we're talking movies with our good friend, Alex Bauer. He is an aficionado of all things cinema and television. This is the longest thing that we've ever done, but I think it's the best thing that we've ever done. So we're going to jump right into it. TV shows, movies, Alex Bauer. Hope you enjoy. All right, joining us now is TV and movie aficionado, friend of the show, and a scrub fantasy basketball manager. Alex Bauer joins the show. Alex, how are you?
Feeling good. What about you?
Doing very well. How's quarantine been?
I'm getting a lot of movie watching in, so that's the positive thing.
That's perfect. Perfect for this segment because we've brought you here because you are the biggest movie buff and TV show expert that we know. You've pretty much seen everything ever made. But before we get into that, we have to dive into some of your tweets because you are a controversial follow, my friend. This one recently, quote, anyone who says at Reese's Easter eggs don't taste better are liars. Liars in all caps. Care to explain yourself?
I have you ever tasted a better tasting Reese? I don't think so.
It's really nice when you get a 2-pack of peanut butter cups out of the vending machine, especially in Arizona where it's hot, and you open up that cup and it's perfectly smooth on the bottom. No melted chocolate. Like you think it has to be melted. I'm in a vending machine in Arizona, but usually you got to put them in the fridge to avoid that. But when you pop them out of the cup, you don't even put them in the fridge and they just come out perfectly, just natural. That tastes good.
I mean, we're talking Reese's here. So this is the God tier candy. So
God tier candy. Yeah,
this is like the go-to candy. So any type of Reese's I'm down with, except for the white chocolate. White chocolate, I don't mess with that.
You vibe with Reese's Pieces? Because I'm not huge on Reese's Pieces.
If it's got Reese's in the name, I'm down.
All right.
But I think with the Easter egg, the chocolate, there's a little bit more chocolate and a little bit more peanut butter. I don't know, it just tastes good.
It is a little thicker.
Yeah,
I'll say that it's got some extra girth to it.
Oh yeah. What else? My controversial tweets.
I mean, I got this one right here. The last scene of hashtag perks of being a wallflower is iconic 100 emoji. And I'm going to agree with you there. Perks being a wallflower, great book, fantastic movie. So that leads me to this question. If that is you in the back of the pickup truck and in the final scene,
yeah,
which actor do you want driving and which actress do you want in the passenger seat?
Wow, that's a great question. I think just kind of going off with the Kurt vibes right now, what's hot, what's not. I think driving, would be cool to have like Miles Teller. I think he'd be pretty cool.
Miles Teller fits that role well. When I think of Miles Teller, I do kind of think of a coming of age type movie, kind of a
and he was in The Spectacular Now, which is another god tier coming of age movie.
I think I read Perks of Being a Wallflower and Spectacular Now at around the same time, and I think I watched the movies around the same time. And this was just as I was getting into John Green, who I absolutely love, and John Green movies are amazing. And actually, I know there's Looking for Alaska on Hulu, but I'm so afraid of watching that show because as much as I loved like Paper Towns and oh my God. Oh God, I just blanked on the Shailene Woodley one. Overthinking.
Fault
in Our Stars. Good God, how did I forget that one? That's the head honcho. Those books are great, but Looking for Alaska is a whole nother level. So that one I'm a little scared of. But can I predict who I think you want in the passenger seat?
Please.
I think you're going to say Zendaya.
You read my mind.
Oh, look at that.
You read my mind. I think that would be an amazing duo. But yeah, Zendaya. Have you seen? Well, one. Have you seen the Looking for Alaska on Hulu?
I've not seen Looking for Alaska on Hulu. I love Hulu. I love everything on Hulu and the
Yeah.
FX on Hulu pairing now because I love FX. So now I don't have to
Right.
pay for FX Plus because that's not even a thing anymore.
Right.
But I'm just scared of diving into that show.
I mean, they treated the book very well, and it's a great adaptation. So definitely recommend if you definitely are a John Green fan. I've really liked it. But Zendaya, I mean, Euphoria, the Spider-Man movies, she's just the coolest person right now.
All right, what was the last movie that you watched?
um, it was Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
Yes,
And
Goodfellas.
is that your first time watching it, or is that your second or third time?
It's my second time. I saw it on Hulu. Speaking of, yesterday, and I had only seen it once in high school, so I thought it'd been good to kind of catch up and rewatch it and see if it holds up.
Does it hold up?
It's a lot better than I remembered. I remembered not liking it in high school.
Ooh, you didn't like it in
Um,
high school.
no, I think I went in with a little too much hype. People really hype up that movie, and I definitely think it's solid. But I don't know. I don't know if you've seen it, but the narration kills me. It drives me crazy.
Really, because I've not. I feel like Goodfellas is a movie that everyone it's like very popular and everyone's seen it, but I've not seen Goodfellas. Like
It's
what's wrong with the narration? Because I generally have no idea what you're talking about, but I feel like there could be someone listening going, "What do you mean you've never seen Goodfellas?"
well, the narration is like probably about 70% of the movie. I mean, the point of view character is Henry Hill, and who's a mobster, and he basically just talks through the movie. Like, I did this, this happened, I was thinking like this, and I just think that's a cheap way to tell a story. Is like show us rather than tell us in terms of, especially with movies. If I wanted to know introspective about the person, I'd read a book. You know, I feel like movies, it's much stronger if you kind of if you just show us instead of having just someone narrate the whole time.
Yeah, I don't watch I don't watch a ton of movies while I'm home. I definitely prefer TV shows, but I do love watching movies on planes.
Oh yeah.
And going abroad to New Zealand, had a lot of time to watch movies on that flight, had a lot of time to watch movies coming back. So the last movie I watched was coming back before quarantine, and I watched Ford versus Ferrari,
Okay.
and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. So I love cars, I love Ferrari, and I was a little skeptical going in because I thought, oh, it's about Ford going into Le Mans in the
Yep.
60s, and they're going to take down Ferrari. And I love all things Ferrari racing. So I thought they were just going to bash Ferrari, make them look bad. But what I
Right.
loved about it was they were infinite times more critical of Ford
Hmm.
in the movie. They really didn't ridicule Ferrari at all. And if anything, it wasn't even Ford versus Ferrari. It was just the people driving and trying to make Ford become what they are versus Ford versus Ferrari. And I thought it was just a fantastic movie.
I call those type of movies Wikipedia movies because I saw that in theaters, which was an awesome place to see it, obviously, because it is a very loud
Yeah.
spectacle, and I was wowed by it. But I was more interested in like googling the story afterwards. I don't know if you ever seen a movie where you're just like, I just want to know more, and you are more fascinated with like looking up the names and the places and stuff.
Yeah. I kind of did that after I watched Spotlight,
Oh
and
yeah.
I absolutely loved Spotlight. And it was kind of one of those movies. It was like Ford versus Ferrari for me, where I had a general idea of what happened, but I think the movie just made everything just come perfectly together. And I'm actually kind of doing the same thing with a TV show I'm watching on Hulu right now, Mrs. America,
Oh, I've seen the
which
first episode and I really liked it. And I mean, all the promos and stuff, they look amazing.
it is my favorite show of 2020 so far.
Wow.
It's not even done yet. I think it's going to sweep all the miniseries Emmys. Kate Blanchett is amazing. The supporting cast is fantastic. And it's another one of those things where I kind of had like a basic idea of what the ERA was and the rise of the
Right.
feminist movement. But this TV show, there's just so many different places that it goes, and from different perspectives and point of views, and the different politicians and activists. And it is fantastic. And what's amazing about it is there's some scenes where I actually feel empathy for Phyllis Schlafly, this very conservative Midwestern woman who I disagree with. But there's scenes where I'm like, oh, I kind of feel bad for her. And then the next scene, I also have chills going down my spine, like, oh, I hate this woman. She's the devil.
I have to catch up on that one because I think it's like 5 episodes in already, 5 or 6. But I've only
Yeah.
seen the first one. But I mean, FX and history, like pretty much can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I absolutely love FX. I loved their new comedy, Dave, Lil Dicky's new show.
I have not checked that out.
I love it. It just got renewed for season 2.
Oh, that's good.
It's either has passed or is projected to pass Atlanta as FX's most watched comedy. Atlanta is one of my favorite shows ever. And yeah, Dave Bird is just a genius. Gata is the best character, and when you start watching the show, you'll be introduced to Gata. He is my sleeper for best supporting actor in a comedy. It's his first time ever acting. The guy playing Gata,
Oh, wow.
who's a real person. Like, he is
Right.
Gata. He is an actual hype man, and he is fantastic. So FX has just been crushing it, and the FX on Hulu merging together, I was a little skeptical at first, but it's just been fantastic. And I now have the entire FX library at
It's
my
insane.
fingertips. So
It's
I think next thing I want to check out is Justified, because my dad watched Justified,
love
and
Justified.
I have not seen it. What are your thoughts on Justified? Because it's been one of those shows where I've been meaning to watch it, but I couldn't find it. But now it's in front of me, and I just need the time where can I dive into that long of a show?
Justified. It was like it took a season to warm up to it, to kind of get a sense of the characters and the place. But for me, I am a big Western person, and it definitely has sort of like a neo Western feel, like a very modern take on what a Western would feel like today. And I just think it does the crime procedural pretty well. Great characters, interesting stories, and you kind of know what you're getting into by season 2 and 3. Like, okay, and then take some twists and turns. But I definitely like Justified. Definitely recommend it.
Perfect. I think that's kind of the kick I need to finally dive into that show. It's
Have
not like I'm taking my online classes seriously anyway. So
no, of course not. Have you seen? Oh my God, the Devs. I think it's called Devs. Devs.
I
Thieves.
I watched the first episode of Devs because I love Nick Offerman,
Right.
and it's FX. And the last time I saw Nick Offerman on FX was season 2 of Fargo,
Yeah.
and just a hilarious character. And I'm like, this is very interesting. I'm like very excited for the show. And I watched the first episode, and I love how mysterious it is. Like, I was just watching the show, and the whole time I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what is happening? This is insane. But it was just a little too just weird for me. That's all I can
Mm-hmm.
describe it as. I'm not really into the whole Silicon Valley tech type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was hard for me to really get enthralled in it. Like, for me, a good mystery is, one, being very mysterious,
Mm-hmm.
and two, just having a setting that really captivates me. Like, my favorite type mystery is a show called Trapped that's on Amazon Prime, that is Icelandic, that I started watching while flying to Iceland. And it's all in Icelandic, has English subtitles, but the setting is amazing because you're in just rural Iceland, and it was really cool for me to watch that after visiting Iceland, and just the amount of twists and turns it takes, amazing. So I'm not saying, if someone's into that kind of Silicon Valley tech type stuff and loves a good mystery, then Devs, you're probably going to love it. But for me, I just couldn't get myself to go into episode 2, because if I'm going to be like really weirded out by something, then it has to really really grip me. Like, it's like
Right.
I love Criminal Minds because that show could get dark and weird, but I'm the type of person where when it comes to horror, I actually prefer the things that could happen in real life than
Mm,
stuff that couldn't happen. Like
interesting.
I find the paranormal and stuff I know couldn't happen like way more terrifying than like gory murder that could happen in my backyard. I have no idea why.
I think with horror, it's also kind of like a vibe thing too, because I love horror as well, but it's kind of I don't go into like a ghost movie being like, oh my god, that really happened. That person was, taken over by the devil. I just think it's just like you nailed up good music. It's creepy. It's fun being creeped out and scared a little bit, but I don't know. It's not nothing for me. It's not like I'm taking it away like, oh, that was real. But with like mystery, like true crime and all that stuff, I think that's way more scary just because it's like, oh fuck, that could actually happen.
Yeah, I'm really weird. Like I don't do well in horror movies. I get scared very easily, but I'm not one of those people. I will watch a good horror movie if there's a very good plot and storyline. Like my friends, it must have been a year or two ago, uh, got me to watch The Conjuring, and
Okay.
I was just a scared baby during the whole thing, turning my head away because that just terrified. I don't even clap into the camera. Oh my god, I almost peed myself during that scene. And I know like that stuff could never happen, but it happened in New England, so that hit very close to
Connecticut.
home. Just the whole like New England, just old house New England
Love it.
fall foliage type vibe. I'm just like, oh, this is hitting way too close to home. And it was, and the plot was fantastic.
Hmm.
The acting performances were fantastic. So I think like The Conjuring is a very good movie because not only was it just a fantastic movie all around, it scared the living daylights out of me.
Perfect.
Now, that being said, in horror, another big tweet out of you. I want some big screen horror with
Yes.
great soundtracks. Halloween 1978 and It Follows.
Yes.
Is It Follows one of your favorite horror movies? Because It Follows actually is one of my favorite horror movies.
It follows. Yeah, it's probably definitely in the top 10 for horror movies. Um, it is just it's one of those where it's like like I said, it's an experience. You watch it, the music's fantastic, the acting is great, but it also leaves you kind of like, what the hell is going on? And it has enough realness to it where you're like, okay, this stuff actually kind of happens. I don't want to spoil it too much because there is kind of some internet deep dives where what is the monster and what is it really about and stuff like that, which it's interesting, but just like on its face value, it's just like a group of friends being terrorized by something. I just That's just kind of horrifying.
See, you say It Follows is an experience, and I totally agree 100% because for me, when I watched that movie, it was an experience. I was doing a road trip with my brother and one of our good friends, and we were staying at our friend's cousin's place in Malibu, and we were watching the movie It Follows. But right before then, I smoked some weed, and it wasn't the first time I smoked weed, but it was definitely the amount of times I smoked weed before that I could count on one hand. So I was not a an experienced consumer of cannabis at the time, and I had never been paranoid ever
Right.
before smoking that night. I've never been paranoid high after that. So I've only been paranoid once while high, and it was because I smoked weed and watched It Follows, and I was freaking out the entire time. I got no sleep that night. I was just looking over my shoulder every 5 minutes, going, "Oh shit!" It was an experience for me, and I think
I,
that's what made the movie just incredible. Was not just the being high and just that amazing music, but also just having this paranoia just feel like weight on my shoulders. Like I couldn't
mm,
move. I was freaking out. But it was such a good movie. That was an experience.
and I saw it sober, and I was having that experience too.
Really.
So yeah, it was. I saw it the first time I saw it. I saw it with my friend who, in high school, we watched every single type of horror movie: good, bad, mediocre, awesome. So It Follows came up, and we watched it, and it was just one of those kind of like afterwards, we're like, holy, like looking over our shoulder, like it. It I don't know if it scared us, but it freaked us out for sure.
Do you consider Gremlins a horror movie? Because I love Gremlins, and technically it's a horror movie.
Yeah, sure, why not? Those things are scary.
Here's my hot take.
Okay.
Uh, I'm gonna say Gremlins is the best Christmas horror movie, better than Nightmare Before Christmas. How about that?
Wow. I think it's just a matter of what you grew up with, I guess. I mean, I saw Gremlins, but like in high school, so I wasn't a kid and I didn't have that imagination, a kid imagination as I did with Nightmare Before Christmas. Plus, the Nightmare Before Christmas songs are just so catchy.
Well, speaking of paranormal things, things that may be real or may not be real, another tweet by you, Mr. Bauer. A massive day for the 14-year-old me who believed alien emoji.
That was in reference to the Pentagon releasing UFO videos. Are you big into UFOs or any of that stuff?
I'm not big into UFOs, but the idea of extraterrestrial life, I am a believer in extraterrestrial life. I think the universe is way too big for us to be the only ones.
Right.
There's so many different exoplanets that are in this Goldilocks type zone. I'm not saying that we have been visited by aliens before, but it's there's definitely other stuff out there. So I'm a believer there's stuff out there, which this actually brings us into a question I had. Your favorite alien themed movie or alien themed episode of a TV show? Because my favorite is season 7 premiere of South Park, where they get abducted by aliens and they find out that Earth is one big intergalactic reality TV show.
Isn't the pilot have to do with the chef getting abducted by aliens too?
It does. So I guess I kind of have to spoil the premiere of season 7, but the premiere of season 7 is the exact same as the pilot episode of South Park.
Wow.
Everything happens the same. And then in the middle of that first scene, they kind of go, wait a second, I'm having total deja vu. I feel like we've done this before. And then they eventually figure it out and they go, oh my God, like we're on repeat. Like we're in a repeat, which to me I find hilarious, that just breaking the fourth wall where the TV show knows that that episode is being syndicated. Like they
Right.
feel like they're on repeat, and then they turn that into the abduction of aliens, and then it continues like a normal episode. It's not being repeated anymore. And they find out when they get abducted by aliens that it was the intergalactic TV station playing a rerun episode of their hit reality TV show Earth.
Oh, that's
So
pretty good.
sorry if I spoiled season 7, episode 1 of South Park for anyone, but you'll still find it hilarious. It's easily my favorite. But back to you, Mr. Bauer. Favorite alien themed movie or episode of a TV show?
I got two. Um, I got the movie is The Fourth Kind. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it is a found footage movie from like 2010 maybe ish, and it's the I saw it in theaters, and that's probably the most terrifying theater experience of my life. It was,
Really?
yeah, it was. Like I said, it found footage, and it's like this housewife who thinks she's being abducted by aliens, and it felt as real as any found footage film you'll ever watch. It was crazy. I like it. I haven't seen it in a long time just because it freaked me out so badly. And I love that. Like, so I think I have to rewatch that sometime soon. On the TV side, it's anything X Files related. That's one of my top three favorite shows of all time.
Really?
So yeah, that's kind of what kind of got me into the UFO craze as a kid, was watching the X Files and wanting to be like Fox Mulder. Um, I mean, there's tons of great alien episodes on that one.
I think what got me a little into extraterrestrial life was Jimmy Neutron. They did some great stuff with aliens. I mean, the movie before the TV show with the Yokians, some great characters. During the TV show, them going to an alien planet, Carl being impregnated by an alien and actually carries an alien baby. That might be the most traumatic experience I've had as a kid in a TV show, besides the episode Wormy and SpongeBob with the close up of the butterfly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I still can't watch that episode.
no way.
I don't like bugs. I don't like close-ups of bugs. I don't like jump scares. And Wormy, that episode of SpongeBob just combines all three. And to this, I just can't.
Yeah, that's a horrifying one. It's kind of crazy. You go back to watch kid programs, and some of the more terrifying ones are actually really terrifying. Like, have you seen Pinocchio lately?
No, I have not.
It's on Disney Plus, and I'm going through all the Disney animated movies. It's kind of my quarantine challenge right now.
Nice.
And so Pinocchio is in one of the first five, I think, of the Disney movies. It's horrifying, so scary.
Is it really?
It's one of the most terrifying animated movies ever I've seen. I mean, I
I'll
don't
have to
want to.
check that out.
It's there's a scene towards the end where the like kids or these people get turned into donkeys. It's terrifying. Nightmares.
Yeah, that's really weird. The last thing I watched where people were kind of getting turned into horses were Sorry to Bother You, which I love that movie. Underrated movie. Lakeith Stanfield is is one of my favorite actors right now and maybe
He's
all
amazing
time.
because he's in Atlanta too, and he's awesome in
Yeah.
Atlanta. That movie, like 7/8 of that movie is like top 20 of all time, and then that last eight, you're just like, what the fuck's
What
going on?
is going on? But honestly, I think that's what makes the movie so amazing is that Boots Riley just did not give a fuck.
Did you watch that without any like knowledge going into it?
None.
Yeah, that's the way to
No
see it too.
knowledge going in. And
Yeah.
I think that's what made it amazing. But I mean, speaking of Lakeith Stanfield and horror, have you seen the show Atlanta?
I've seen the first season, and I've been wanting to watch the second season now that's on Hulu. And I just haven't gotten around to it.
Okay, I will not spoil this episode for you then, but I highly recommend this episode. And I think it's the best episode of Atlanta.
Nice.
Teddy Perkins.
Teddy Perkins.
Teddy Perkins. I think that is the best episode of Atlanta, and it might be the best episode of TV ever made.
Wow, I got some homework to do then.
It is fan. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to say anything
Okay.
else, but it is fan freaking tastic.
He's also in Get Out too.
I saw Get Out on a plane, and I just don't think it was the right atmosphere to watch Get Out. I think that's why I didn't enjoy it as much. But I do like it. It is a good movie.
It kind of shocks me how popular that movie is with older people. And when I say older, I mean like I know a lot of aunts and uncles or or friends of friends who are in like their 50s and 60s who love that movie. And
Really?
that kind of like they're like I think it's because like they get the message and they think that's like interesting. Like, oh look,
Yeah.
I get what's going on. But that was another theater experience where the theater was like 3/4 full and everyone was going batshit crazy. It was pretty fun.
That's great. I mean, going back to horrifying episodes of TV as a kid,
Yes,
did you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender growing up?
I've not seen that, but it's being added to Netflix in May sometime.
It
So
is.
yeah,
I'm very excited. I was actually very excited when I found out that Netflix New Zealand had
oh,
Avatar: The Last Airbender, and so
nice.
I watched it in its entirety for the first time since I think I was a freshman in high school. So it was really my first time watching it as pretty much an adult. So there's some creepy episodes in
I
that show, and the message around them is also haunting as well, even as a pretty much adult.
That is on my like probably my watch list for the past like couple years now. Everyone says how great of an animated show that is, and it's just not streaming anywhere. And like the box sets are like 50, $60, and it's
Yeah.
like no way. So when I saw that it was added to Netflix, that's going to be on my list.
I think what makes the show so great is that like I didn't watch it with my parents, but I feel like there's a lot of parents who watch it with their kids, and like you can watch it as a parent, and the messages behind the episodes are not only amazing for kids, but even as adults. And I think it also makes
Hmm.
the show so powerful is that these like adults who are watching are learning something and being inspired by these characters who in the show they're 12, 13, 14,
Mm-hmm.
15 years old.
Well, if we're going to talk about scary cartoons, we have to bring up the goat, which is Courage the Cowardly Dog.
See, I didn't watch that show a ton as a kid, but I
Okay.
have seen clips of like, oh, like scary things that scared you as a kid. And it would show like a clip from Invader Zim. I'm like, oh, not that scary. And it'd
Uh,
show another clip, like, oh, it's fine. And they'll show Courage the Cowardly Dog clip. I'm like, oh God, how is that a
oh,
kid show?
oh my God. That, and I think Nickelodeon had a show called Monsters, or like real,
Yes.
yeah, something like
Yes,
that.
real life monsters. They
Yes.
and they had a character who is pretty much based off of a guy in Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh yeah, the eyes.
Yeah, don't get me started on that dude from Pan's Labyrinth. I haven't seen the movie. I've just seen a photo of that, and that like in the trailers and whatever, and that
That's
haunts me. But then there's the little cartoon version in Real Life Monsters, a little chubby guy, and
yeah.
he doesn't have eyeballs in his palms. He's like holding his eyeballs like baseballs.
Mm,
I think one of a great TV crossover is when they made a cameo in a Rugrats episode.
they did. I remember that. And I thought that was like, as a 7-year-old, or I was just like, what the? They could do that?
Were you a Nickelodeon kid or a Cartoon Network kid or a Disney kid?
Um, I enjoyed. I as a kid, before middle school, I was Nickelodeon, and then middle school and through high school, I was Disney.
Okay, because I think I was mostly Nickelodeon. I think never really a huge Disney family
No one is.
except for like Pixar movies and like Lilo and Stitch and all of those. Like those are just some classic movies. But when it came to shows, yeah, definitely Nickelodeon. The only Cartoon Network I was really into was Teen Titans,
Yeah.
and that was a show I thought was cool as a kid just because the combat scenes and all that. But I also feel like I need to rewatch that one as an adult because I feel like I kind of get some Avatar vibes where just the storyline and the plot is fantastic.
The Cartoon Network shows were always so creative and like artistically pleasing to like look at, like Foster's Home and
Oh, I remember that show.
Codename Kid Next Door and all that stuff. Um,
Oh, I did watch Codename Kids, and I you know what? I did watch that, and I also watched Dexter's Laboratory.
Dexter's, yep. But for some reason, I just like Nick was always like the one that was just like always on, so I just always watched that.
Nickelodeon just had a stacked cartoon line, especially for me growing up, where because I was born in '98, so my like peak kind of watching cartoons Saturday morning with my Fruit Loops was probably 2003,
Right.
and they just had a stacked lineup of they'd give you 2 episodes of Jimmy Neutron, two
Mm-hmm.
episodes of Fairly Odd Parents, 2 episodes of SpongeBob, and that was just a big three for
Yeah.
me right there. You had Paul Pierce, SpongeBob, just fantastic. Seems like he's always been there, the heart and soul of the team. You had Ray Allen, Jimmy Neutron, just a great show on the perimeter. And then you bring out the big boys, Kevin Garnett, Fairly Odd Parents, just hitting off everything. Great plot, hilarious. It's so versatile.
But
Fairly Odd Parents is just an amazing show. Cosmo, one of the best characters ever, and the voice of Cosmo is also the janitor Gordy in Ned's Declassified.
oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
But Nickelodeon definitely does have the murderers row of lineup for that. But then they also had really great like B sides, like Chalk Zone. That's a
Oh,
great show.
Shock Zone has the most hype theme song in cartoon history. Like I could get ready for a basketball game or something
And
and
listen
just
to that
play
theme song.
Rudy's got the chalk. Rudy's got the chalk, 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 chalk zone. Oh my god, talk about get your blood pumping.
Oh my god, it's the best. But for me, I was a Disney Channel kid only because the Disney Channel movies were always perfect.
See,
And
I was never really into the Disney Channel movies. Like,
when when Disney Channel Plus like launched, everyone was like Star Wars, Marvel. I'm like, no, all the Disney Channel original movie, Luck of the Irish, Halloween Town, those were my jams as a kid.
I watched Halloween Town last year at U of A because they were doing a screening of it
Oh,
on
really?
our on like our lawn area on campus. I had one of those like inflatable like
Nice.
projector screens, and I'd never seen Halloween Town. It was actually kind of funny.
It holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I remember Nickelodeon tried to get into the original movie game. They had Shredder Man Rules,
Oh
which
my God.
which had I'm totally blank on the actor's name, but the guy who played Ned's from Ned's Declassified,
Yeah, I don't know
and
his name.
it's Devin Workshire, I think that's his name.
Yep, that sounds familiar.
And then they also had the lead female character was the actress who played Susie Crabgrass from Ned's Declassified. So for me, it was weird as a kid because I couldn't put two and two together. I'm like,
Hmm,
why are Ned and Susie being called something different? Where's Mose? Where's Cookie? And
interesting.
but I still I remember watching that movie and I enjoyed it. And then there's also one called Last Day of Summer,
Okay.
where it was kind of like Groundhog Day, but for kids. And the only thing I remember in that movie was I found it very entertaining. And then there was two like lead female characters. And as a kid, I had a crush on both of them. Totally forget who uh, one of them was. She was like a brown haired girl. I totally forget what her name was. But the other one was Jeanette McCurdy.
Oh,
And I
okay.
recognized Jeanette McCurdy because she made one appearance on an episode of Zoe 101. And then I think a year later,
iCarly?
she was on iCarly. So that one, I remember her promoting the show on like Nick at Night or something, or Nick or Teen Nick Spin the Bottle, or with whatever those midday programs were. And they're like, we're having the show called iCarly. It's with Miranda Cosgrove and Jeanette McCurdy. And I remember just being so hyped for that show.
I have a question for you now.
Yes.
So, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, my friend and I, we ranked all our favorite childhood favorite shows,
Yeah.
and our number ones were different. So we had an argument, a little bit, not an argument, but we had a discussion. So I want your take. He said Drake and Josh,
Okay.
which is like the big hitter.
Yeah.
For me, it's Zoe 101.
Ooh, I gotta say Drake and Josh. I'm sorry.
Oh, oh,
I because now how I said there's the big three of Jimmy Neutron, Fairly
yep,
Odd Parents, SpongeBob for cartoon Saturday morning.
yep.
Your midweek TV shows from like 6, 7, and 8 o'clock was Ned's Declassified, I believe was at 6, and then Drake and Josh at 7, Zoe 101 at 8.
Oof,
What and that's just another solid big three right there. Love Zoe 101, but I think as a kid, those three shows were probably tied for me. But
yeah,
as I got older and rewatched some of them, I just think Drake and Josh holds up best all around.
interesting.
And I'm also going to put Ned's Declassified above Zoe 101 as well.
Break my heart.
I love Zoe 101.
Ned was too goofy for me. Like it was like funny, but it was just like out there as for younger me.
See, for me, I was really into that, and I think because I remember I watched it as a kid, almost going into middle school, and also I'll be honest, some of those tips are helpful, but I kind of was a bit of a I kind of like the kind of the whole like goofball vibe I had in that show. It was very creative, and I love Gordy. Gordy was, I think, one of the best kind of like mentor characters that Nickelodeon had, and I don't know, I just love the wackiness. And what's interesting about the three shows is they're both like comedies, but Drake and Josh is like a classic sitcom
Yeah,
type comedy laugh track. Zoe 101 was almost more of a drama
yeah.
ish. And then Ned's Declassified was just a very fast paced comedy. 15-minute episodes, so it'd be 2 episodes in a half-hour block with like no laugh track. It was very fast paced. I kind of like that.
Interesting. Okay. I see. For me, as a kid watching, I always thought like Drake and Josh. It was. I mean, Drake and Josh and Zoe 101. They're both like top tier comedies, right?
Yeah.
But I thought Drake and Josh was like I was kind of like looking up to them, whereas Zoe 101, I thought I was part of the group. So I kind of like that vibe a little bit more.
Maybe that's why I love Nancy Classified, because Nancy Classified, I felt I was kind of part of the
Part of the
group.
group,
Like I kind of put myself sitting in study hall with Coconut Head. Like it
right?
was, but it was weird watching Drake and Josh. Is when I watch it now, like they're playing like 16-year-olds, and
Yeah,
Drake Bell and Josh Peck were, I think they were like 22. Like they were older than I am now, which
right.
is still like really weird for me. So I like now when I watch it, I can almost see myself in them because I remember looking up to them as a kid. But now I'm like, oh, they just seem like one of my friends because they're my age. But then it's like, hey, I need the car tonight to go to school. I need the car today to go to school. I'm like, okay, this is weird.
I always thought it was so cool. PCA for Zoe 101 always look that's like the number one coolest school ever. Like who doesn't want to go to PCA?
Well, do you know what campus it was filmed on?
It was Pepperdine, right?
Yes. So when we were in Malibu for that road trip, and I was very actually, I know we didn't visit Pepperdine on that one. God, I'm gonna sound like such a privileged asshole. I was in Malibu 3 years before that, I think, 2 or 3 years before that, with my brother and my dad, and we visited Pepperdine just to kind of walk around campus. And I don't really think I needed a map. Like, I was just like, oh, this is PCA. This is so cool.
It's amazing how they it still looks the same, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pepperdine just has that vibe. I don't know if you've seen that campus. It's gorgeous.
I've only seen it in pictures and on Zoe 101.
Yes. Yeah, not all of us can afford the $80,000 in tuition, whatever the hell they're charging at that school.
That's insane.
Wow, it is just cranked through all of Nickelodeon. Good God, that was pretty much my entire childhood. Um,
That's good.
I remember there's some weird Nickelodeon shows that I definitely watched and didn't necessarily enjoy, or I might have. My Life as a Teenage Robot was a
Yeah.
very obscure one. And looking back at it, it
That's
was really
also
weird.
also has a very good theme song. Take a listen to it sometime. It's a catchy song.
I have it replaying in my head right now, and honestly, yeah, I agree. It is very catchy.
Also underrated, as told by Ginger.
As Told by Ginger, yeah, I'll agree with you. Very underrated.
Very underrated.
I think when that show first came out, I think I was like very, very little
Okay.
when it came out. Do you remember what year it came out in? Was
I
that
don't
late
know.
'90s?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can look really quick. As told by Ginger. But the thing with those shows is like they were replayed constantly, so it's all very timeless.
Yeah, I think that's how I really got into like Nickelodeon, was that we had like Rugrats in Paris on VHS, and they would show reruns of Rugrats. So as a kid, I love Rugrats.
2000. It first
To
aired.
that, okay, so yes, okay, it's around the same time as like Fairly Odd Parents.
Hmm.
But if we're talking even like older Nickelodeon cartoons, I love and still love Hey Arnold.
Oh, that's there we go. Now we're talking.
If
I
if if we're talking life lessons to be taught to kids, like if I become a parent, my kid's watching Hey Arnold because the characters are amazing, the life lessons are great, and here's my hot take: the best Christmas special that any TV show could ever
oh yeah,
make is the Hey Arnold Christmas, because that one is not for kids, or it is for kids and kids can watch it, but I watch that almost every Christmas and I cry. Like,
yeah.
it is a tearjerker. Like, I like more than when I watch the SpongeBob movie and I'm crying when they finally make it to Shell City and they're singing the Goofy Goober song. You thought that was a tearjerker. Oh, the Hey Arnold Christmas special. Like, there's tissues.
Hey Arnold blended so well, having the entertainment for kids, but also the deeper themes as well. Like it blended that so well, and it was just like such a great show to watch.
Yeah, yeah. No, Hey Arnold definitely holds up.
So, if I had to ask you where Hey Arnold takes place, where would you say?
I remember it was a made up town, and
Right.
I'm blanking on the name, but I believe it was kind of was it based off of Brooklyn?
So that's the vibe I totally got. It's Portland.
Port Really, Portland, Oregon.
Yep. The creator, Craig Bartlett, is actually married to Lisa Groening, who is Matt Groening's sister, and Matt Groening is
Huh.
the creator of The Simpsons,
I
and
did not know that. You
they're all
know,
from Portland.
you know what? Looking back at it, I do, because I have been to Portland, Oregon once, and I absolutely love that city. Um,
But it's definitely a New York vibe. The show.
yeah, like I would think New York. I really don't get much of a Portland vibe, but maybe when I was in Portland, it just kind of has that such like new like hipster vibe where
Yeah.
Hey Arnold. I mean, there's just so many different characters, and it's such a diverse cast, and no matter who you are, you will find someone that you relate with. I related with Stinky just because he was tall.
There you
Like
go.
And like I feel that I might not be from Arkansas, but you're tall. I
The
get it.
three the three episodes I immediately think of when you said Hey Arnold were the haunted train.
Oh,
Um,
great episode.
that's a great episode. The pigeon guy, the
Pigeon
bird guy,
Man, that's another one that'll make me cry.
and then
Pigeon Man's inspirational.
the third one is when they clean up the vacant lot for the baseball game.
Oh wow, great episode.
I know they're just
Yeah,
full of them.
the vacant lot for baseball is a great one. They had some great sports episodes where they're playing like football against the big kids.
Yeah,
Instant classic is a Stoop Kid.
Stoop Kid. Yep.
Stoop Kid's afraid to leave the stoop.
Where they
Amazing
go to the
headline.
island. Oh, no, the pig war. There was like they had a pig war. That's all I remember. I just thought it was
Oh,
fun.
Abner.
Abner. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. There's also a really good episode where Arnold goes to the island to visit his like favorite childhood book author, and it turns out she's just a cranky old woman.
I remember there's a one where they go to an island and it's like a treasure hunt.
I do remember that one. For some reason, when I think of that one, I think of Sid, and I don't know why I think of Sid. Probably because he was whining and complaining like he does in every episode. Um, oh my God, there's one classic Hey Arnold episode that I love that used to kind of creep me out as a kid, but now I love it. When he goes into the sewer to get his grandfather's pocket watch.
Oh yes. And
Was
if I
he
remember,
playing chess against sewer people?
that sounds about right.
I think he had to play a game of chess to get the pocket watch.
Yeah, because wasn't him and his grandpa, did they play chess or checkers? No, chess.
I think it was chess. They play chess all the time.
That probably, yeah, that sounds familiar. I have to rewatch it. I think it's on Hulu.
There's some
And,
classic Nickelodeon shows on Hulu. Danny Phantom's on Hulu.
oh, now we're talking.
We're talking ghosts and the paranormal.
Another great theme song. We need to make a list of like the
Great kids TV show
theme
theme song.
theme
Danny
songs.
Phantom's up there. That's pretty hype.
That's a pretty hyped one. Um, and also if I remember correctly, I think the guy who voices Homer voices Grandpa in Hey Arnold, which I
Really?
blows my mind. Yeah, Dan Castellaneta.
I did not know that. I haven't really dove deep into the Hey Arnold voice cast. That I didn't realize
I'm
that.
I'm a big Simpsons guy, so it was kind of like digging deep into the Simpsons cast and then seeing what other work they do because voice actors they're so profound and they work all the time, and so it was I kind of blew my mind when I saw that credit. I was like, no way. But if you like listen to it, if you're like looking
If you're
or
actively
watch,
listening to it,
yeah, it's that you could tell.
I do love The Simpsons. It definitely holds up. But I feel like I haven't watched any of like the newer episodes in a long time. I think the only thing I watch out of Fox's like animation Sunday night block is Family Guy. Because actually, I think recently, like Family Guy, it doesn't like nothing will ever beat those early Family Guy seasons. And I think it's gone a little bit downhill in the last few seasons, but it's still pretty good. And actually, this season, I thought they've done really well, much better than the last few seasons. Actually, last week's episode of Family Guy, where they were doing spoofs of Bible stories, I was almost crying laughing because they were just ripping the Bible apart.
Family Guy, that was one where it was on Adult Swim, and I was cool. I thought it was cool as a kid watching that. And so like, but those were like the first before the first cancellation. So what was that like first
Yeah,
three seasons or something like that? Those were funny. Um, but I haven't watched it recently.
yeah. I think seasons 3 and 4 are probably my favorite. I remember I would watch them after school with my brother because my brother was in middle school, so he was starting to get into kind of the more like the dirty humor type thing, and I wanted to be cool, and so we would watch the reruns on TBS.
Yeah,
And on demand every week TBS would have like 6 different episodes that they played that week. And so I thought it was cool to be watching Family Guy, and I was like 10. I was also watching like South Park on demand, and yes, that's probably where I got a bit of a potty mouth myself, but absolutely love those. And it was a kind of a weird transition for me where I think when my brother started watching more like Family Guy and also got more into like watching sport shows, I think I stopped watching kid shows not really early, but it was an immediate transition where like one day I was watching iCarly and then the next day I was watching South Park.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, I guess I'm an adult now. And I wasn't, just an immature tween. But I think it wasn't until maybe freshman year of high school where I got like very like I got this very early nostalgia phase where
Mm.
I started going back into those kid shows and I absolutely loved them, even though I was probably watching them only 5 years before. But as my TV viewing habits just changed very quick. By that time as well, I was also into like CSI and Criminal Minds, and then I started getting like FX shows. So it was very weird how quick it changed, where I went from Drake and Josh and iCarly to Family Guy, South Park, and just bloody crimes on Criminal Minds. And looking back at it, I'm just like, there was no like, there's either no gray area or there's a very weird gray area where I was watching like iCarly at 3 in the afternoon, and then come 9 p.m. I'm just watching just horrific murder on Criminal Minds.
Sometimes it's fun. Like I go back and watch some of the nostalgic kind of TV shows. It's like comfort food where, um, watch some. I was watching when Disney Plus launched. I was watching like Lizzie McGuire, Phil the Future, all those shows, and it was just felt like I was eating, a nice home cooked meal from grandma, I didn't have to like uber pay attention or think this is high art. I just like sitting there and having some fun. And sometimes TV, that's what it's all about. Nothing. You don't have to think. So
Well, I think that was a great note to end this conversation on. Alex,
perfect.
thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to come back anytime. It was great having you.
I love it.
Wow. That was a good segment. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think that was a really good segment. Thanks again to Alex Bauer for just being an absolute character. Great guy. Knows so much about movies and TVs, and that was a really fun segment. I think that was the most fun I've had so far recording anything. Also want to give a special shout out to my buddy Sean McDaniel, who made the beat for us and the music we've been using. That's been highly appreciated. Also, special thanks to my good friend Dahlia Peralta for making our logo. I totally forgot to thank her in the first episode, but the logo looks great, and I want to give a special shout out to her. And also just thanks to anyone listening. I know this has been a really just off the wall show. We do a little bit of everything, but for our loyal listeners, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Now, before we go, I am someone who enjoys solving things. I'm a man of the people. I study political science, and I'm here to solve the issues that are troubling most people. And let me tell you, my home state of Massachusetts, we are a divided state at the moment. Because Dunkin' Donuts is getting rid of their styrofoam cups. They've been in this transition for quite some time now. And people are not happy. People are happy that the styrofoam cups are gone. People are mad that the styrofoam cups are gone. People are mad at the new cups. And you can just tell that we are a divided state over this issue. Just some of the comments. Quote, "These new cups are terrible. You pay more for less coffee. Your coffee doesn't stay warm like before. Never mind the covers. Need I say more? I hate the new cups. My coffee is cold before I even get to work. The new cups suck. They don't keep the coffee hot, and they always leak, both at the seams and at the ill-fitting lid. Bring back the old cups." And this poor woman, "I stopped getting my daily AM coffee because these cups are horrible. Leak everywhere, and coffee is cold within 10 minutes. Well, Massachusetts, I just want you to know that I'm here for you. And I'm here to solve these hot button issues that mean so much to my fellow Massachusetts residents. And I've thought very hard about how we can find a solution as a state together, because we need to get rid of styrofoam cups, but we cannot have these leaky cups from Dunkin' Donuts. So, all concerned citizens, I have a solution. You ready? Go to Starbucks. I'm Pete Sippis. You've been listening to Sip Talk. Have a great day.